Hey everybody! Today we're going to troubleshoot and solve some lighting issues on my 2002 BMW F650 CS. This is the first of two YouTube videos on this bike. The second one will cover changing the oil and flushing the coolant. The previous owner included this maintenance stand. I'm not sure if it was an original accessory or if it had to be purchased later, but it's a great way to work on a motorcycle. In fact, I like it so much I started to make them for all my other bikes too. We'll start with the rear lights, mostly because access is pretty straightforward. I'll be doing a full spring maintenance routine, which means eventually removing all the plastic, but for now I'd like to start with something easy. The battery has been on a tender all winter, so I know it's fully charged. The tail light and signals check out, but the brake and license plate lights are nowhere to be seen, so we're 3 out of 5 in the back. I have changed both of these lights before, so I'm a little bit curious as to what's going on. Part of me wonders if the overall quality of incandescent light bulbs just isn't what it used to be, or if it's the actual components or the connectors of the lighting system. Maybe it's both. The bike's 20 years old now, so anything's possible. This bulb is just plain burned out. There's a clear break in the filament. My spare came from the same package, so I'll see if it does any better. This would probably be a pretty good candidate for an LED replacement. It's on all the time, so at the very least it would be a fair bit cooler in that tiny enclosed compartment. Maybe I'll add that to my next parts order. The brake light is a fair bit easier to get to. Both filaments in this bulb seem to be intact though. Sometimes they can still be burned out so finely that you can't see the brake, and sometimes the problem just isn't the bulb. So I'll test it and see what's going on. And it's fine. But I've noticed that one of the terminals looks a little bit rough, like there's been some arcing which has been eating it away. Better uncover the socket in the bike and see what it looks like. And so begins the body panel removal process. In this case, it's just the seat, but almost all the plastic will be coming off sooner or later. The bulb slips in and the contacts settle onto the terminals perfectly. This first contact is really loose and kind of sloppy. That's got to be the cause of the arcing. The other side is nice and tight, but for some reason it has a modified terminal clip on it. Not sure what that's all about. I'll just hit that connector with a bit of sandpaper and give it a little tweak to try to increase the pressure on the bulb. I'll have to keep an eye on it. Hopefully it'll last a while. To be safe, I'll just use a new bulb and maybe I'll add a brake light to my LED shopping list. This slip-on terminal is really bugging me, so I'm going to take it off and take a closer look. And now I get it. The contact on the socket has been completely arced away, and there was no way it would make good enough contact with the bulb for it to work properly. So somebody has slipped this little piece on to strengthen it up, which is pretty clever. I'll have to keep that in mind in case the other side acts up again. Alright, back together, and no surprise, the tail/brake light is good to go. I like to verify the switches on the front brake lever and the rear brake pedal are functioning properly, and they are. So once the lens is back on, we're done back here. Up front, we'll begin without a low beam headlight. That went out just before I put the bike away for the winter last year. I've already got the replacement. That little running light kind of in between and slightly below the headlights is gone too. The high beam is good, left and right fine, so we're 3 out of 5 on the front, 6 out of 10 on the bike in total, which is kind of crazy really. Might as well check the horn while we're here. All good. This is a fairly low mileage bike and it came to me in pretty good shape. This indicator has taken a hit at some point. Right now it's held together with some black electrical tape. It's noticeably out of line with the rest of the lights. There's easy access to the low beam headlight, but the problem here is that the bulb has completely come out of its socket. It needs to be in there tight to make ground, and it's nowhere near doing that now. Looks like the retaining clip is corroded through and can't keep pressure on the base anymore. It's going to be a bit of a deep dive to get the headlight cluster out to work on it. It's way too tight in there to do it as is. So off comes more of the plastic. Everything comes off pretty easily. There's no cracks. The paint all looks pretty good, although it's starting to look a little tired in places. I'm a firm believer that the best way to understand your bike is to tear it apart. I kind of like this bike. I'm probably going to keep it for a while, so I might as well get into it now. The retaining clip isn't putting very much pressure on the bulb like this. It's corroded under the mounting screw and half of it's missing completely. The high beam side shows me what it's supposed to look like. There's no way I can leave it like this. It isn't making a good connection at all, and it'll fail in no time. The only wire I have is bigger than the original, but I think it's close enough. It's definitely more than stiff enough to hold it tight. I tried to copy the shape as best I could so that the bulb could be changed quickly and without much fuss. I put in a brand new bulb, and I'll just keep the old one for a spare. I replaced the burned out front running light with an LED that I had as a spare for another bike. With all that taken care of, the rest of the headlight housing can go back together now. So this is the mounting point on the frame for that front right indicator that I want to replace. It needs to be pulled out ever so slightly to bring the new light back in line with the headlights in the front of the bike. The end result looks way better. Things look to be back in balance. That's it. The lights all test out and are ready for another season. As I said earlier, the next video documents the oil and coolant change that I did later that same day. Why don't you check it out, hit the like button, and subscribe if you like it. I'd appreciate it. Thanks very much for watching.